Okay, now we'll get the first solid coat on, and I have a few little bumps and not many lines, but I have some places to where I had blisters that I cut out and put a coat of mud over that are sunk in just a little bit after it dried up. So all I need to do now is scrape it down and go to mud over it again. I always scrape around anything that has trash on it or lines. That way, when you put the mud on and pull it back off, you don't have trash that comes off in your mud, and it's really aggravating when you get trash in your mud. So, and right now I'm using mud that is been used a few times, so it has trash in it, so I'll show you what I mean with trash in just a minute. But when you're solid coating, it's a lot easier to get out instead of when you put mud on solid, and I'll show you the difference in that just a minute. So just scrape the wall down. Press the corner down real good on each side. Now there's a line right here where the wallpaper goes together that I've got one coat on. The second coat should cover it perfect. You can always go back if there's any places you're worried about that you might sand through because they're real thin. You can go back and put a third coat on. So that's no problem at all. And I'll leave a little bit extra mud on that one this time. And actually probably put a third coat over some of this. I'll just go through the third coat and I'll just not solid coat every inch of the wall, but any places that I think need another coat, I'll just go ahead and put one little coat over them, just touching it up actually. So make sure you scrape down any places that might get trash in your mud. Now we're ready to solid coat. Once again, I like the corners first. Take my 6-inch knife, and since I'm doing big sections of wall here, I use a 6-inch knife on each side. So I'll put a coat on that side and a coat on that side. Go back and just scrape it down. And you'll see after I wipe this side down, after I've already wiped this side anyway, it's got a little line in it, so I just go back over this side again, and if there's any trash on the other side this time, it'll sand out, so you won't have to worry about that. And go ahead and do around these places if you want to, the small places with a 6-inch knife. That way you don't have to worry about getting the big knife around it. If you want to take these things off and put towel racks, put them back up. If that's up to you. It's just a lot easier to leave them up sometimes if you're going to put them back in the same place, because whenever you do the solid coating, you're going to mud over those plastic anchors that are in the wall, and then finding those plastic anchors again might be a problem. And you don't want to try to put this back up in the same location and not actually have it in the exact location where the anchors were, because if you knock a hole right beside it, then you're going to have a bigger hole because you didn't put it right back in the same place. So you could always take it off there and put the screw back in place if you wanted to. But I just like to leave them in the wall if it's going right back up there. Yeah, I mean, it's just as easy to do around those as it is to do around a screw sticking out of the wall. So now we're ready for the 12-inch knife. Put the mud on. And again, start with the knife straight up and then push it down as you go down with it. As you wipe the mud out, that allows the mud to come out. I'm going to zoom in and show you what trash looks like in there, what I was talking about. got some trash in the mud here, and if I just wiped over it, you can see that if I try to smooth it out, I've got trash that is showing through here. So it's not that big a deal because I'm solid coated. So I'm just going to scrape it off, and as I scrape it off, this trash will not leave lines in it because I'm scraping all the mud back off that I put on it, except for a little solid coat, which is what we're doing. So if you're having to leave thicker mud on, then you definitely don't want trash in your mud. So let's keep solid coating. Now, as you can see, I can stay away from this now. Scrape it off. And I don't have to go around, trying to get this big knife around that. I can because I've done it for a while and it's not that bad. But if you don't have the skills required already, then it's a lot easier. And I like to do a section of wall at a time. I'll do about a 3 foot, maybe 4 foot of section wall at a time. These walls in here are a little over 9 foot tall. So I'll do probably 3 sections, maybe 3 foot at a time. It's just a lot easier when you're putting this much mud on and trying to cover this big of an area that you do that. This mud is a little bit too thick, but just for demonstration purposes I can use it. I've actually thinned this down just a little bit, but I have used it a few times, so it does have a little bit of trash in it. But that's how you put the final coat of solid coating on. It's real slick now. I can sand it with no problem. If there are any places that I feel might sand through easily or are sunk in too much after it dries tomorrow, then I'll come back and put another coat on, just touch touch a little place up, or actually float it out again if I need to. But you can always go back and just touch the middle of it up, and whenever you sand it, you'll sand out all the edges that you see from where you went and touched it up. But just remember to put the mud on and pull it back off instead of, you can't just put it on there and try to barely pull it off, because you're going to have a big build-up place of mud. It's going to be really hard to sand off. So whatever mud you put on, make sure that you scrape it off with a fair amount of pressure, instead of scraping as hard as you can or not scraping hard enough. And you'll see once you start putting mud on the wall that you'll figure out exactly how much pressure you have to have when you start pulling it off. You'll just have to do a few strips and see. So that is how I solid coat over wallpaper after it's keeled. I call it keels. It's Zinsser primer stain, or cover stain is what they call it. Zinsser makes it. Keels is another brand that I've talked about, but the smell is so strong that I don't use it anymore. And they have low odor keels, but I wouldn't recommend it because it does not work well at all. Zinsser is all I use because it works so smooth, and I've never had it fail me on the job. And we'll come back tomorrow and I'll start sanding, and I'll show you how to sand it, what grit of paper you use, and what technique I use to keep from having sanding marks while you're sanding, so you won't be able to see them through the primer and paint.